Good morning. My name is Christel from France de Klerk, Independent Technical Analyst. The first one on our list today is Bitcoin. And we can see that on this weekly graph, the instrument is testing that red line at the moment, which represents the 40-week moving average. And we know by now that is the line in the sand. Above it, the long-term sentiment towards the instrument, towards Bitcoin, will remain positive. But below it, the sentiment will change to negative. And look at it, very important, that neckline of this possible head and shoulder formation, or some might even call it a distorted double top, if this does not become a proper right shoulder, is a negative formation. It's a warning formation. And that neckline is waiting very close to that 40-week moving average, waiting at 26,253, which highlights the importance of that support. Below it, we can see some ugly downside even further, but above it, we can see maybe more momentum to the top. Now, at the moment, they are protecting the 40-week moving average. That is seen as possible. But what increases the probability for more upside? And this is the stochastic indicator with a positive divergence, where that blue line, the K percentage line, has broken upwards through the orange line in oversold territory. That means the probability for the instrument to bounce to higher levels is more likely. So this oversold situation might attract more investors to continue to support that 40-week moving average and maybe even change that previous resistance, which is waiting at 26,535, into a support. That will confirm the next small higher low. Why do I say that? Because Bitcoin pulled back, bounced, found resistance, pulled back, bounced, and that bounce, that support, is a little bit higher than that previous support it found on the neckline, and that is seen as positive. So when that resistance starts to change into a support, that will confirm the next higher low, 26,535. That will also act as confirmation that that there is optimism and that there are investors that are buying the dips. Obviously, that strong resistance on Bitcoin is waiting at 30,596, which can act as a possible target for some upside. But the neckline waiting at 25,686, and that 40-week moving average, as I've said, is very strong support levels that has to remain in place in order to sustain the momentum to the top. PSG Konsult, ticker on our exchange KST. We can see on the stochastic both lines are still pointing downwards, confirming the momentum to the bottom is in place. I mean, this almost looks like a waterfall formation, right? It tried to bounce a little bit, but then just more sell-off, more profit taking took place. Now, my 40-week moving average is waiting at 12 Rand 85. Below that level, the long-term sentiment will change to negative. With, there's a stat saying, don't try to catch a falling knife. So at the moment, we have to wait for the share to stop making new lows, try to find a consolidation base, wait for a turnaround candle or pattern with a positive divergence on any of the oversold or overbought indicators in oversold territory, and then start to accumulate again. At the moment, we're going to have to sit on our hands on this one and see what does the share do when it reaches that 40-week moving average at 12 Rand 85. Below it, it might be an ugly play. Santova, ticker on our exchange SNV. Negative technical goodbye kiss was confirmed in the week of the 18th of September. Look at this. The instrument, Santova, the share price bounced, tested the 40-week moving average, which is represented by that red line, and could not change it into a support and retrace from it. Now we know a technical goodbye kiss on a moving average, either positive or negative, is a strong confirmation. In this case, it was of pessimism. 8 Rand 60, there was just not enough buyers to change this 8 Rand 60 into a support. And now that means the long-term sentiment has changed to negative and the momentum to the bottom is clearly in place. Now the Santova is in oversold territory. there is already a positive divergence, but I don't have a turnaround candle or pattern yet. The momentum to the bottom is still in place. I'm not going to try to catch a falling knife. So I need to wait for it to start to consolidate sideways, wait for a turnaround candle or pattern, and then make use of the oversold situation to get in again. But as long as that 40-week moving average remains as a resistance, the long-term sentiment towards Santova will be negative. Very important, if we look at the history of Santova, the 40-week moving average was a very strong indicator of strong support. Look what it did here in the beginning of 2023 when it kept it a support, that 40-week moving average. I mean, the share went to a brand new record high. Now it could not keep it a support, changed it into a resistance, and that is seen as very, very negative. It will be interesting to see whether investors start to make use of this oversold situation to accumulate the share, or will it not be enough to buy Santova? Only that interpretation will only be visible in the candles over time. The rand against the British pound. We can see on the stochastic, the momentum to the bottom is clearly in place. However, look at the strong support that the rand found on this trend line that I've drawn in here. Clearly a weakening rand against the pound. My 40-week moving average waiting at 22.82 is also a support. Now, the currency pair didn't come back all the way and tested it on the line, but it found support just above it, and that exact level on the line graph is 22 Rand 96. That is seen as, well, depending on which side of the currency pair you want to be, that is confirmation that we can see a weakening rand against the British pound. Now, obviously, the strong resistance levels to the top are 23.83, 24.18, and then that high at 24.30 on a line graph. The first sign of weakness will be as soon as this trend line starts to change into a resistance, and that depends on how long the weakening trend remains on the pound. So if I project it and it comes back, it might be even as high as 23.30, wherever it starts to retrace again. But the rule around currency pairs are we expect a weaker rand in this case against the British pound, as long as my 40-week moving average waiting at 22.82 remains a support. Only when the rand starts to consolidate below that 40-week moving average can I say, listen, I expect a stronger rand against the British pound. Momentum to the top clearly in place, and it will be interesting to see if we reach those resistance levels that I have mentioned. Macys in the US. A lot of investors know, with the pullback, want to make use of the oversold situation to buy some of the US darlings again. Now, at the moment on the weekly graph of Macys, it's nicely oversold. We can see I don't have a positive divergence on my stochastic yet. I would want that blue line to first break upwards through the orange line. And more importantly, the momentum on the line graph is clearly in place. I don't see higher lows. There's no sign of a tweezer bottom or a double bottom or even a triple bottom. There's no sign of a consolidation phase that the share has stopped making new lows. So at the moment, I'm going to have to sit on my hands. For me, the first strong resistance that needs to be overcome on Macys is first above $12.15. Only above that level can I say, listen, it seems like there was investors, enough informed capital that have started to buy the dips, and we can maybe see some upside for this one. You can see my 40-week moving average is also waiting far away, only at $17.09 US cents, which means this share has to work very hard before the long-term sentiment towards the share will change to positive again. And if we look back at history, recent highs in November 21 was $34.53 and then again $39.88. So at the moment, let's wait for that turnaround pattern, that confirmation of optimism before we start to nibble on a share that might even go lower for the time being. Don't forget to send through your request via Twitter or email at admin@francedeclerc.com. Have a fabulous week. Take care.